Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you. My name is Shantanu Rana and today I am going to take this session on how to face job interviews in English. But before we start with this session, I just want a quick confirmation in the chat box whether I'm clearly audible or visible. Once you'll confirm, we'll directly start with this session. Please let me know in the chat box whether I'm clearly audible or not. Hi Rishabh, hi Umar. Perfect. Yes, I want all of you to be very interactive because this is a live session. So I want interaction from your side. Whatever questions you have related to interviews, whatever doubts you have, you can just put it in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to reply. Yes, thank you for a quick confirmation, guys. Umer, Radhe, Janvi, Ganesh, Umer. Thank you so much for confirming. So let's just move forward with this session. So let's not waste any time. First of all, let me just give you a basic agenda, which will give you an idea that what all we are going to cover in this particular session, one after the another. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is points to remember in an interview. So whenever you're going for any interview, there are certain points that you should definitely keep in your mind. Those points we'll be discussing in the beginning itself. Then answers to most common questions. What are some most common questions which are asked in the interview? You're applying for a technical role, you're applying for a management role, marketing, sales, any department. It does not matter. There are a few questions which are common in all these interviews, such as tell me something about yourself, strengths and weaknesses, short term and long term career goals, then why should we hire you, what is your salary expectation. So these five are the most common questions that are asked in all the interviews. You're applying to any role, any organization, maybe you're applying for business analyst, marketing, sales, business development, software engineer, full stack web development roles. All these roles, there will be a few rounds of interviews where some basic questions are asked or maybe behavioral questions are asked. These five questions are generally common in all the interviews. So I'm going to tell you what exactly is the purpose of these questions, how exactly you should find an appropriate answer for these questions, and what exactly is the time duration that you should take in order to answer to such questions. Then questions to ask the interviewer. So generally, once an interview is over, the interviewer will definitely ask you, like, do you have any questions for me? So I want you to ask them a few questions which are related to the company or the job. Now, what kind of questions you can ask? What are the different types of questions that we should ask professionally? Those things we will be discussing. And then finally, words to use, where I am going to give you some phrases, some business English phrases that you can use as it is in your interviews. Let's say you have some opinion about something, you want to have a discussion, you want to disagree with the interviewer, you want to ask for time, you do not know any question, how will you say sorry, how will you move ahead with that? Those basic phrases we will be discussing at the end of this particular session. So this is the agenda, and we will be covering each of these topics one after the another. And whatever doubt you guys have, put it in the chat box. I'll be looking at the chat in the middle, and at the end also we'll take some 10-15 minutes. We'll be answering to all the questions that you guys will have. So make sure you use the chat box properly. Whatever doubt you have, just put it in the chat box. So first thing, points to remember in an interview. The first thing is, if you can anticipate a question, prepare an answer for it. What do I mean when I say anticipate a question? So whenever you write your resume, you always know if there is something tricky about it. You will always be sure that about this particular topic, a question can be asked. Let's say you are an engineer, but you have done some internship in marketing. So definitely the interviewer can ask you that why have you done an internship in marketing if you are an engineer? Why don't you do any internship in your field? Similarly, if you are in marketing and all, but you have learned, let's say, some other Python language or maybe any other language, definitely they can ask you a few questions. Similarly, if you have any gap year in your experience or in your educational journey, if you have a gap year, a question can be asked related to that. If you have done any project, if you were a part of any exhibition, if you were a part of any debate competition, definitely questions can be asked based upon those things. So always, if you can anticipate a question, you can think about a topic that okay, a question can be asked related to this topic. If you can anticipate it, definitely the interviewer can also anticipate it, and they are definitely going to ask you at least one or two questions related to that particular topic. So always make sure if you can think about a question, you can anticipate a question, prepare an answer for it. Do not go with a blind mindset. Always make sure that whatever anticipation you can do about your resume, that this question can be asked or that question can be asked, always prepare a basic answer for that and then talk about it in the interview. So that's what preparation for an interview is all about. Then know your resume inside out. 80% of the interviews, be it your technical role or be it your management role, 80% of the interview is mostly about your resume. They will be probing you, whatever skills you have written on your resume, whatever educational background you have written, whatever CGPA you have written, maybe whatever projects you have done, whatever internships you have done, whatever work experience you have, if you have any. So they will be generally probing you about those things, and there can be some specific questions related to the skills or knowledge required in that particular job vacancy. But mostly the questions are about resume, so make sure you know your resume inside out. Even if there is one word written on your resume, you should have an answer ready for it. For example, when I used to submit my resume when I was a fresher, so in my school I did a exhibition. I was a part of a science exhibition which was at a district level, where I worked on a project which was based upon Pascal's law. So if you know about, it's a simple law in physics. So after my graduation, it was a school project that I mentioned in my resume, and the interviewer asked me that what is Pascal's law. So it has nothing to do with my job. I was applying for a marketing role, but still a question was asked to me about Pascal's law because that was written on my resume by me. So if you are writing something in your resume, even if it is a word, even if it is a sentence, make sure you have a justification ready for it. You should know your resume inside out. That is one very important thing. Then communication, that is clarity of words and clarity of thoughts. So whenever you are going for any interview, you are appearing for any interview, there are two things that you should keep in your mind. Number one, clarity of words. Number two, clarity of thoughts. It is vice versa. If your thoughts are not clear, your words will never be fully clear. Similarly, if your words are not clear, your thoughts will not be communicated correctly to the next person. So, in order to have a complete communication with the interviewer, in order to have an effective communication with the interviewer, you have to make sure that you have clarity of thoughts, you recollect those thoughts, and then you speak. So, clarity of thoughts as well as clarity of words, both of these things are extremely important. Sometimes people say something but that does not make any sense. That is never a good idea. Whenever a question is asked, always take some time, think about it, listen properly, and then answer. Because clarity of thoughts is one thing, clarity of words is another thing, and you should have both of these things in order to have an effective communication. Then accept the nervousness. Now you must be thinking, why don't we directly start with interviews and all? Why are we talking about nervousness and all these things? Why we are talking about nervousness and all these things is, even if you are fully prepared, you know all the skills, you know all the technical knowledge that you are required to have in order to go for a particular job vacancy, but still if you will be nervous, there's no point of that knowledge, there's no point of that skill, because you won't be able to showcase it, and eventually you may not get the job. So in order to make sure that whatever you know, whatever knowledge you have to portray the same. You have to show that kind of your personality in front of the interviewer, in front of the recruiter. Now how you can do that is by accepting the nervousness. Always go with the mindset that the interviewer is not going to judge you, the interviewer is just going to observe you. There is a simple difference between judgment and observation. So always go with the mindset that they have called you, they have shortlisted your resume, so they are not going to put you in some uncomfortable situation. Definitely there will be some pressure, definitely there will be some nervousness, but you don't have to go with the mindset that they are not going to hire me. If you'll go with the mindset that the interviewer is not going to hire me, they will ask me tough questions, that will be the case. You will be true anyway. So go with the mindset that they have called me for an interview. The interviewer is investing his time, energy, money in hiring you. So definitely they want to hire you. If you'll go with that mindset, your nervousness will be less, and whatever you want to say, you will actually say it confidently. So accept the nervousness rather than trying to avoid it. Go with confidence and speak whatever you have to say about all the skills, personality traits, knowledges that you have related to the field. Then sell yourself. What do I mean when I say sell yourself? That simply means talk about your USPs, talk about your main strengths that you have. Even when you are talking about your weaknesses, do not go on an extreme level. Always remember that when you are sitting in an interview, you are selling yourself. What do I mean when I say you are selling yourself? That means you're talking about your strengths, you're talking about the knowledge that you have in the particular area. So talk about those things even when they are asking you about your weakness. They are asking you about something which is, not highlighting your strength. Still never forget that you are in an interview to sell yourself, to get that job, to show them that you are a right fit for that particular job vacancy. So these are certain important points that you should definitely keep in mind. Now let's talk about one of the most common questions which is asked in all the interviews. That is, tell me something about yourself. Sometimes they can ask you, introduce yourself. Sometimes they can ask you, take me through your resume. All of these are nothing but your introduction. So how should you introduce yourself in an interview? That is something we are going to explore over here. So before that, I see a few questions in the chat box. Let me just go through those questions. I'll answer those questions and then we'll come back to this slide. Okay, Suraj is asking me, sir, is English must for interview? Suraj, it depends. If you're completely applying for a technical role or something, it may not matter to a great level, that to what level you know of English, or to what extent you have the command over the language. It may not be a big issue, but let's say you are applying for a business development role or sales role where you need to interact with the international clients who speak in English, then definitely it will be a requirement. But in today's world, learning English is something that you should definitely give your time and energy to, because when we are in this platform, the everything is virtual today, everything is digital. We can connect with people from US, UK, so there should be one way of communication. We cannot talk to them in Hindi, we cannot talk to them in Telugu, we cannot talk to them in Kannada. So we have to have some language, one language at least, that we can communicate with them at an official level, at a professional level, in an office setting basically. So English is kind of important, but again it largely depends upon your role. If your role does not require English at all, then even if you'll speak some basic English, that will be fine. But if your role requires it, then definitely you need to have it. I hope that answers your question, Suraj. Perfect. Okay, I think I have answered this question. It's the same question, that why is English mandatory for interview? Just I answered this, so I hope that gives you clarity. Okay, Radhesham is saying, what should be the answer for the question asked by the interviewer, that have you given any interview? Why didn't you get selected in that company? Radhesham, you can simply say that when you give an interview, it's not that you failed to get selected in the company. It's always the fit. If you are not the right fit for a particular job, if you are not the right fit for a particular company, you will not get selected. That does not mean that you are lacking something. There can be chances that maybe you lack a particular skill, but you can upgrade yourself. But most of the times when you do not get selected, that does not mean that you do not know anything, or you are, people who got selected, you are less than them, you are inferior to them. There's nothing like that. It's generally the cultural fit. If you are not a fit in the organization, if there's a large mismatch between the competencies which are required in the field, and between the skills that you actually have, between the competencies that you actually have, so definitely you will not get selected. But it does not have anything to do with your lack of skills or lack of knowledge as such. So that's how maybe you can answer this question. Okay, expertise is the name of this person, and he's asking me why you are leaving current job. So one thing that you should definitely remember is, never start talking about the previous company in such a way which will show them that it was really hard for you. Never talk something bad about your previous company, never talk anything bad about your managers or your colleagues. You can simply say that currently I have evolved as a person, and my goals are different now. When I was in that previous company, when I was hired there, my goals were different. But now I'm looking forward to, have a more, you can say, better career or better goals. In terms of reaching those goals, I think this company will help me. So it's always good to switch. Nobody will mind that answer. But make sure whenever you are saying that, okay, I left my previous company or I'm leaving my previous company, you should not show them that it was really hard for you to work there, the managers were not good, or this was not good, or that was not good. That will just give an idea to the interviewer that you are not an easy person to work with. You will have a lot of conflicts. So you do not have to say anything about your previous company as such. You can simply say that when I was hired in the previous company, my dreams were different, my goals were different, and I was a good suit for the company. I was a good fit for the company. But currently, I have evolved as a human being. I have evolved as a professional person, and my goals are different. And I think this organization, that is for the company in which you are applying right now, will help you in achieving those goals, those personal goals or those professional goals. I hope that answers your question. Okay, Satyavini is saying, what is the best platform to learn fluent English for an interview? Satyavini, I don't think we can say that this is the best platform. Language is not a skill that you can learn in 2 days, 3 days, 1 month. It comes with time. You can start watching a lot of English shows, you can start listening to English, you can start thinking in English. So generally, when we have a native language, we think in that language, but we speak in English. We try to speak in English. We transform and we speak in English. So try to think in English, and eventually it will come on your tongue as well, and you will start speaking it too. But to start with, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Great Learning YouTube channel. You can go to Great Learning Academy, and there are a lot of courses on business English, spoken English, conversational English. There are so many topics related to English, and you can start with those courses. These are free courses on Great Learning Academy, 2 to 3 hours of simple courses, 1 hours of courses. You can do those courses, you can start learning from there, and that will be a good start. Just to the main thing is you have to start somewhere. If we'll just keep on answering, keep on asking that where to start, how to start, that will not help. Take a few courses, start with that, and then eventually you will get a direction that how to, where to put effort and what you're good at, what you're bad at. You will get clarity over that. So go to Great Learning Academy and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There are a lot of content, live sessions, other videos, courses that we have, and you can assess your skills by quizzes and all, and you can get a certificate for those courses as well. Saurabh sir, is it important to learn DBMS for a job? Yes, Saurabh, it is about your job vacancies. If you are applying for a marketing role, maybe it is not required there. It will not be needed, of course. But if it is required in your job, you are applying for a technical team, you are applying for a role where DBMS is required, it is written in their job description, then you will have to learn it. It is as simple as that. We cannot say whether it is important for interview or not. It depends upon the job vacancy. Certain skills will be required in sales, but those skills will not be required in technical rounds of interviews. Similarly, certain skills will be required in technical rounds, but those will not be required in sales or maybe marketing or any other role. So you always have to find out that what exactly is the job description for the particular job vacancy that you are applying to. Okay, Suraj is saying, sir, please suggest online internship. Suraj, again, we have one offering from Great Learning, that is Career Boost. You can go to Career Boost if you are a fresher or you are, having 1 or 2 years of experience. You can find out a lot of internships there. You can find out a lot of companies where you can apply for full-time jobs as well. So I think you can make the best use of our platform called Career Boost by Great Learning. Also, I would request everyone to please, if you are asking a question, please put it just once. Do not put the same question again and again. That will not be relevant for me. Sandesh is asking me how to improve your skills. Go to Great Learning Academy, subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's at least 1 or 2 courses that we are uploading every day. There are so many live sessions. There's so much of content. You can find out on our Great Learning Academy page. There are courses related to data science, Python, programming in general, and your management courses, time management to conflict management, human resource management, marketing analytics, business analytics, data science. All these courses are there. Just go to Great Learning Academy, find out those courses, enroll yourself, and start learning. You have to start somewhere. That is the only way. There's no substitute for that. All right, so now we'll just move back to this slide where I'm going to tell you how exactly you can introduce yourself. So I would request you to just, wait for a while, and then again I'll come back to the chat and I'll answer a few questions, right? Let's discuss. Tell me something about yourself. How exactly you should introduce yourself. So the main purpose of asking this question is to put you at ease. Even the interviewer do not want you to be nervous. They want you to be comfortable when you are answering. So they want to put you at the ease. That is one thing. And this answer, whatever you'll answer to this particular question, that will set the tone for the rest of the interview. to determine the next set of questions, whatever you are going to say in your introduction. Based upon that, interviewer can ask you thousands of questions. If you are focusing a lot on your internships, they can ask you about it. If you are focusing a lot on maybe your cultural activities in your college, the interviewer can ask you about it. So it depends upon you how you set the tone for the interview, and based upon that, the interviewer will decide the rest of the questions for the interview. So are you as good as your resume? When you write your resume, so there are a lot of people who are not authentic. They will write thousands of skills, but they actually do not possess even one of those skills. So that is not at all relevant, and that is something that you should definitely avoid. It's not a good thing. If you know 5 skills, write 5 skills. If you know 10 skills, write 10 skills. Do not try to extend it. A person knowing 5 skills and writing 5 skills is always better than a person knowing you know uh, 2 skills, or maybe just writing 10 or 20 skills out of nowhere. So that is never advised. Make sure you are authentic while you are designing your resume, because definitely you will have to justify the same in your interview. To evaluate your skills and attitude, whatever skills you are required for the job role, they want to evaluate you about that. That's why they ask you for introduction. And to check your communication skills. So these are the main things that the interviewer wants to check you when they are asking you for your introduction. So certain things that you should definitely include in your introduction is your name. What exactly is your name? Where you're from? Your educational background. If you have done any internships, any work experience you have, any skills or trainings, accomplishments. If you have won any, for example, in my school, I have cleared National Talent Search examination and I got a scholarship for that. So I generally mention it in my accomplishments. If you have won any other prize, any other debate competition, any other dramatics competition, any other competition related to technical field, cultural fields, always mention that in your accomplishments or achievements. Then passions and interests. Why are you, this is again, passions and interest is not required. If you want to mention it, you can, otherwise you can avoid it as well. Then why are you interested in the position and why should they hire you? So these are the main things that should be there in your introduction. Other than this, you should not have anything. Don't talk about anything which is not at all relevant for the company. Now, I am going to give you a introduction where I will ask you whether that's a good one or a bad one. So this is the introduction. Let's say I ask somebody named Rohit that, Rohit, tell me about yourself. And Rohit tells me that, myself Rohit, I am from this and this place. My father's name is this. My mother's name is this. My father is a, he's talking about his father's occupation, brother's occupation. Then he's these many years old. His college name is this, and his favorite subjects are this. So what do you think, this particular example of introduction is a good one or a bad one? Please let me know in the chat box. What do you think about this particular introduction? You think it's a good one or it's a bad one? Shivam Bharti is asking me, sir, how to be confident at the interview time. Shivam, I already told you, accept the nervousness, breathe, hydrate yourself, and you will be good to go. Always remember, when you are going for an interview, the interviewer is going to observe you. They are not going to judge you. So never go with the mindset that they will, they have called you for an interview. Now they'll ask you some tricky questions and you won't know anything. Never go with that mindset. They are putting their energy, money, time, efforts in hiring you, so they want to hire you. Always go with that mindset, and eventually you will build up the confidence while you will be having the conversation with the interviewer. All right, so I see a lot of people are writing bad one, which is right, because this actually is not a very good example of an introduction. The person is talking a lot about his father, mother, their occupation, which is not at all relevant for the company. So definitely this is not a good example. A good example will be something like this. So I would request all of you to, you can actually take a screenshot of this as well. So if you see, this is the introduction example from a fresher itself. That my name is Rohan Kumar. I am an engineering graduate specializing in this and this field. The person is talking about himself, where he's from. Then he's talking about his educational background, his CGPA. He's talking about his skills in the particular field, whatever project this person has done in his final year major project, whether that project was a success or not. He was a part of his ISTA club in his college. He's talking about cultural activities, technical activities, and then finally he's talking about his internship experience and his passion, that I like reading books and have a passion for writing. My articles have been published on several occasions on the ABC site. So this is a very good way of forming your introduction. Your introduction should not be more than 2.5 to 4 minutes, maximum 4 minutes, not more than that. always prepare an answer which should be in these lines. So these are the ingredients for your answer: your name, from, educational background, internship and work experience, skills and training, accomplishments, passions, why you are interested in the position, and why should they hire you. These things should be clearly mentioned when you are introducing yourself. And that's what you can see in this example as well. All these things are clearly mentioned. Now moving forward, should we mention strengths and weaknesses in the introduction? A lot of you can ask me. So simple answer: never mention your weaknesses in your introduction. If they ask you specifically that talk about your introduction, tell me your introduction, while mentioning your strengths and weaknesses, in that case you will have to mention it. But if they are just telling you that tell me about yourself or introduce yourself, just talk about your strengths, do not talk about your weaknesses. Always remember, you are selling yourself, and when you are selling something, you talk about its strengths, not about its weaknesses, until and unless it is asked. Moving forward, now let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. So this is also a common question, that what are your strengths or what are your weaknesses? Or sometimes they can combine it and they can ask you that what are your strengths and weaknesses. Now how do you answer to this question? Number one, be honest. You can add your employability skills when we are talking about strengths. You can add knowledge based skills. What do I mean when I say employability skills? The skills which are required for the job. Let's say you are applying for a marketing role, then maybe you need to know Excel. If you're applying for sales role, maybe you need to know some CRM software. So if you know any employability skill, mention that. You can mention your knowledge based skills. If you know any languages, you have done any training, any technical ability you have. Personality traits, that you are very hardworking, smart working, you are very organized. Any of those personality traits you can mention. It should be relevant. Whatever you are mentioning in your strengths, that must be relevant. If you are going for a software engineer role and you are saying that you are very good with editing images, that makes no sense because it is not relevant for the particular interview. Whatever you are saying should be concise, precise, and should be relevant for the job. If you are applying for a sales role, talk about things which are relevant for that role. If you're applying for software engineer role, talk about things which will be relevant for that role. Explain with an example rather than just talking about your skills. Always attach a justification with that. Give a particular example which will enhance your chances of getting hired into that particular company. So these are some examples of skills, strengths basically: communication skills, presentation skills, self-motivated, detailed oriented. You can again take a screenshot of this particular slide, and whenever you are going for an interview, you can just read these words, so that whenever you are talking about something, these words will come in your mind when you are talking about your strengths. For example, if you are applying for a sales role, empathy is a very good skill, that I can empathize with people, I can put myself into their shoes and try to understand the problem. Negotiation skills, if you are applying for human resources, if you are applying for sales, it is again a very good skill. Problem solving is a very good skill for software engineers or any technical role for that matter. So these are some the certain things that you should keep in your mind for strengths. Now example of strengths, the answer, you should answer about your strengths in not more than 2 minutes. Make sure whenever you are asked anything related to your strengths and weaknesses, finish your answer within 2 minutes. Don't stretch it too much. So for example, let's take this one. This is for a fresher itself, that my strongest asset is my work ethic and proactive behavior. I evaluate any given situation from different perspective, and I try to wear different hats to see the problem. For example, as a design consultant, we see a problem and solution as a designer, but when I wear the client's hat, I see the same solution as expensive and complicated. So now I try to add value engineering to minimize the cost and try to make it simple for execution. So these are certain things that you can add. So here there are some personality traits, that work ethic, proactive behavior, these are personality traits. But there are some hard skills as well, such as add value engineering to minimize the cost, or maybe better resource utilization. So that is one good skill that the person is having. So you can always mix up your skills, technical skills, personality traits, and then you can design your answer. Now how do you talk about your weaknesses? Point number one, don't be too personal, don't be too extreme. If let's say you get angry, you don't have to say I have anger management issues. You don't have to say I'm a slow learner, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. Don't be too extreme. Always choose words which are wiser. Rather than saying you are a slow learner, you can say you take time to learn new things. That is a better way of saying it. Rather than saying that you have anger management issues, you can simply say that sometimes you are a little impatient. So that is a better way of saying things. Always choose your words wisely and then speak about it. Because even when you are talking about your weaknesses, make sure you are selling yourself, and always give them an idea that how you can overcome that weakness. If you're talking about a weakness, how are you trying to overcome it? That is also extremely important. For example, let's say these are some examples for weaknesses: that self-criticism, shyness, public speaking. All of these are nothing but examples. Perfectionist is a weakness. So let's say you are saying that you are a perfectionist, right? So how exactly you can design your answer? That I am a perfectionist, and that's why when a task is given to me, I spend a lot of time in making it better and better, and that's why sometimes I lose the track of time. So it's a weakness that you have. Now always add how you are trying to overcome it. But because I know these days about this weakness of mine, I'm learning a lot about time management. I'm learning different methods of time management. I'm trying to apply it into my life, and things are eventually getting better. So always add how you're trying to overcome it as well. For example, my weakness is that sometimes I focus too much on details and spend too much time on analyzing the finer points. That is nothing but you're a perfectionist. Then I have been striving to improve this area by keeping a check on my time regularly and giving myself a chance to focus on the bigger picture. I always ensure quality, but now I also try not to get caught up in details. With time, I am sure that I'll not let the perfect be the enemy of my good. So that's the best way of answering it. Talk about your weakness, tell how you are trying to overcome it, and it's done. As simple as that. Now, moving forward, let's talk about your short term and long term career goals. So, sometimes they can ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or they can ask you, what are your short term and long term career goals? How will you answer to this particular question? Number one, show your commitment to the company. Short term and long term career goals should be related. What do I mean? These goals should be related. So there are a lot of people, what they do is that in 5 years, I want to become an actor, and currently you are applying for a software engineer role. So there is no connection between those two roles. So if you are applying for a software engineering role, your long term goal should be related to that. That's how you answer this question. So if you want to become an actor, then maybe this is not the right place for you. That's what the interviewer is going to think. So whenever you talk about your short term and long term career goals, make sure you establish the connection between those two goals. So if you're applying for a particular role right now, see how it is related to your career goal in future, and build that connection and be vocal about it in front of the interviewer. Focus on building your career while contributing to the company. Try to align your goals with the organizational goals. If you go to the website of any company, you can easily find what are their core values, what is their goal, what is their mission, what is their vision. Always do your basic research about these things while you are before going for an interview. Once you have done your research, then always try to implement those things when you are talking about your goals, that this is the goal of the organization and this is my personal goal for my career, and that's how these two are related, and that's how I can contribute. Let's say you're applying for any edtech company, and that company's mission is education, to educate people, to educate young people, and you truly believe in that. So you can say that I truly believe in educating people. I feel that education makes people powerful in a way, and that's why you want to contribute in that. So always see the goal of the company, see your goal, combine the two, and then speak about it. Then goal should be smart. For example, what do I mean when I say smart? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. For example, you want to become a writer. So you are saying that I want to write a novel. Rather than saying that I want to write a novel, that will be a weak goal. There's no timeline attached to it. You do not know how it is going to go. So what you can do is to make it a smart goal, always make it specific, make it measurable, make it attainable, make it relevant and time bound. You can say, I want to write a novel which is of 3000 words, and I am planning to complete it within 3 months. So that's how you make it more specific, you make it measurable, whether it is achievable or not. Are writing these many words possible in 3 months or not? Do that basic calculation, and then make it look more smart, and that will give an idea that you actually are very self-aware to the interviewer, and that will only help you, will fetch you positive points only. Now, one more question is, why should we hire you? This is also a very, very common question which is asked very, generally in interviews, all the interviews. Why should we hire you? Why do you think you are better than the other candidates? So you can always say that I do not know how I am better than the other candidates because I do not know about the other candidates, but I can simply tell you why you should hire me. So that's how you can convert it into the same thing. But eventually, the answer to this should not be more than 1 to 2 minutes. Again, it should be very precise, crisp, why should you hire you? You should be prepared with this answer. Then it is your last opportunity to impress. Include more of personal qualities. Add 2 3 key skills of the job and example stories with numbers. For example, if you are saying that I led a team, rather than saying I led a team, you can say I led a team of 10 members. I led a team of 20 members. Rather than saying that I cracked a deal in the sales team of this company, you can say I cracked a deal of 6 figures in the sales team of this company. Attach a number, it makes it look more attractive. Now, there are a few examples. For example, you can read this one, that I have just the right skill set to excel as an executive assistant. While I haven't previously worked on this role, I pretty much fit the bill for the role. This is for a fresher itself. I'm extremely organized and have managed several project teams in my university. And that's why you should hire me. I'm extremely organized. I have managed several projects. I have the right skill set for executive assistant. So that's how you can establish. Similarly, if you see, this is for an experienced person, that I have all the skills and work experience required for the job. I have worked as a sales manager for these many years. Over the past 2 years, I have closed several deals totaling in 6 figures. And on top of that, I have also good experience of working with tech companies. So I'll be able to pick up all the product specifics much faster than the other candidates. So this is also one a way of showing that how you are better than the other applicants, other candidates who are applying for the same job role. So you can answer this in that way. Then salary expectations. This is also one common question, that what is your salary expectation, or what do you think should be your salary? This is also one simple thing that the interviewer can ask you. Now, few points that you should definitely keep in your mind is, number one, don't think you are hired. If the interviewer is asking you a question about your salary, that does not mean they have hired you. They're still observing you. You're still in an interview. You still have to sell yourself. Research salary range for your role in similar organization. If you're applying for edtech, salary range will be different. If you're applying for e-commerce, salary range will be different. If you're applying for, let's say, pharmaceutical sector, the salary range will be different for each and every role. So always do your basic research, get to know the industry standards, and then go for the interview, so that when you are negotiating about salary, you should hold your grounds properly. Then show that you know your worth, neither too humble nor arrogant. Very simple rule for negotiation. Whenever you are negotiating, you don't have to be too humble, and at the same time, you don't have to be arrogant. There's a fine line between that, and you have to maintain that. Never give a specific figure. If they're asking you what is your salary expectation, you can't say that I'm not going to agree on anything less than 9 lakhs. I want 9 lakhs. I want 12 lakhs. I want 5 lakhs. I want 3 lakhs. Never give a specific number. Always give a range. That I would be okay with 5 to 6 lakhs. I would be okay with the industry standards, like that. Show that you are more interested in job role and the growth opportunities, because they are still judging you, they are still observing you on how you answer to this particular question. If suddenly you will say that I won't agree on anything less than 12 lakhs, that simply means you will you will have a lot of conflicts with your colleagues. You will not be an easy person to work with. So these are the skills that they want to observe while you are answering for this question. So some examples for those sentences can be that, while I am very much interested in the job and the organization, and I'd be happy to consider industry standards, I'd like to go with the industry standards. Or you can say that I'm sure that we can agree to a figure mutually, we can come to a figure mutually. I don't really have a figure on top of my mind right now. Or you can say, as per the industry standards, in a range of 5 to 7 lakhs, but I'm open to negotiation. Always say that you are open to negotiation. That makes you a better negotiator. So make sure whenever any question is asked to you about your salary, you tell them that you're open for negotiation, and it is completely okay for you to, get the industry standards. You establish whatever is there in your mind, you have to say that, but at the same time, you have to be polite. You don't have to be arrogant. Always try to give a range rather than a specific figure. That makes it look that you are open to negotiate, and you actually have the skills to negotiate with somebody. Now, last thing is questions to ask the interviewer. So generally, once the interview is over, the interviewer will ask you, like, do you have any questions for me? You should definitely ask a few questions. Those questions, why the interviewer is asking you. The generally what we think is, like, in interview you are supposed to answer, and the interviewer is supposed to question. But that is actually not the right way of having an interview at the first place. When we talk about an interview, it's a two-way street. You should also ask a few questions, and the you can ask questions about company, you can ask questions about the job role, you can ask questions about the goals of the company, anything. And the interviewer can ask you question about your career, your educational background, and then eventually you can establish whether there's a cultural fit, there's a technical fit, whether you'll fit in that particular job role or not. So always make sure when this opportunity is given to you, that do you want me to, do you want to ask me any questions? Always take that opportunity, grab that opportunity, and ask questions. Now I'm going to tell you why this question is asked at the first place, to see how invested and serious you are about your job, then whether you have done your homework or not, whether your priorities are set right or not. So these are certain things that the interviewer wants to judge, wants to observe while you are asking them any question. So some key points is, wait for them to ask you randomly. When they are asking you something, don't just start asking questions. Give them the chance to let them ask you for that. Until and unless they ask you to ask them questions, do not start on your own. Let them ask, and then at the end you can ask also that, I also have a few questions about the company, about the role, can I please ask you? You can at the end do that, but in the middle, when the interviewer is asking you a few questions, or the interviewer is trying to get to know about your personality, your skills, at that time you don't have to interrupt them. Then prepare questions in advance. Don't ask questions about obvious things just for the sake of answering, or just for the sake of asking. Do not ask anything that makes you look that you are not self-aware, you do not pay attention. Then don't ask questions on things which are already discussed. Never ask feedback of the interview. There are a lot of people, they will simply say that, what do you think, how was my interview? Never ask this question. That will put the interviewer in a very awkward situation, and that's not good. So always make sure you ask question about the company or about your job role, nothing more than that. Never ask about your salary or working hours. One thing that you should not ask is your feedback. Another thing that you should not ask is your salary or your working hours. That, will I have to work for 9 hours? Will I have to work for 10 hours? That will just show them that you are not very easy to work with. So don't have to establish that. Make sure you do not ask for the feedback, salary, or working hours. That is extremely important. Then certain questions that you can ask, as I told you, you should ask questions about your job or about your company. So if you're asking a question about your job, you can simply say that, how does a typical day look like for a person in this position, or what are the most critical aspects of this job? Any of these questions you can ask. You can ask questions about the company as well, that what do you like most about working here, what is the culture of the company like, what is a regular day in the in the shoes of a person in my position will be like, how exactly the people work here, what is the culture like, what are the core values of the company, what are the different processes that you follow in your organization. All the questions related to job and company you should ask, nothing more than that. Now there are a few words that you can use as it is in your interview. As I told you, if you want to give opinion about something, you can say that, in addition to what you are saying, I would like to add this, or my views on this are, you can start with this. You can take a screenshot of this slide again before going to an interview. If your command over English is not so good, you can just memorize these basic things, and you can use these sentences in your interview. That if you do not know something, so first thing, if you do not know the answer to some question, never try to revolve around it. Simply say that you do not know, say sorry, and move forward. If you won't say sorry and you'll try to answer, and then eventually you'll mess up, they'll just think that you are not self-aware. So you can simply say that, I am sorry, I'm not sure about this. Or you can say, this is new to me, I will need to look it up. Then if you want to disagree, sometimes there's a discussion happening and you want to disagree. Maybe it's a group discussion, or maybe with the interviewer panel itself, you want to disagree. You can disagree. You can simply say, I see it differently. May I share my perspective? That is a good way of saying it. You, rather than saying, I disagree with you, that's a negative way of saying it. You can say, I see it differently. May I share my perspective? Similarly, to ask for time. If a question is asked, rather than directly answering, take some time to answer. Now, before while taking that time, you should not just stop. Ask for it. That, would like a few seconds to recollect my thoughts, or can I take a few moments to think about it? Always ask for time, think about it, and then answer. As I told you in the beginning itself, clarity of thoughts and clarity of words. Both of these things are extremely important when we talk about interviews. So make sure, whenever you want to give your opinion, you can use this sentence. If you do not know something, don't try to make a story out of it or cook up a story. Always say sorry, move forward. If you want to disagree, say you see it differently, and ask them if you can share your perspective. And if you want to ask for time, you can simply say, I would like to recollect my thoughts, can I take a few moments? And then you can start from there. Now it is time for you people to ask me any questions if you have. Whatever we have discussed in this session, or related to interviews in general, Whatever questions you have, we have 15 minutes. Please put your questions in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to answer all those questions. Okay, Rahul is asking me, so do we have to show our project working on our PC when in interview? No, Rahul, generally nobody will ask you to show anything on your PC as such. You should just be clear, get to know what was the title of your project, what was the basic things that you worked with. Always you should be completely aware about the tools that you used. So in every project we use certain tools. Let's say you used maybe Excel, maybe used some other tool. Always know about those tools and have clarity about it, that this was what I was supposed to achieve. This was the objective of the project. And then you tell them what are the tools that you used, whether the project was a success or a failure. If it was a success, why it was a success. If it was a failure, what was your learning from that. So that's how you answer questions related to projects. And even the person who's taking your interview, they will not be fully, they won't know each and everything about your project. At times it can happen. So always make sure you just have clarity about what you're saying. They generally won't ask you to show it on your laptop and all, because they can easily make out when you are saying something. They can easily see whether you actually know about it, you are authentic about it or not, right? Should we make eye contact with the interviewer? Yes, definitely. That is extremely important. Making eye contact shows that you are a very confident person. So if you're not making eye contact, they are asking you something, and out of nowhere you're looking here and there, that will just show them that you are not authentic about what you are saying. You do not truly believe in what you are saying. So in order to have a good body language, having a right eye contact is a part of good body language. You should definitely maintain a good eye contact. When I say maintaining a good eye contact, you don't have to stare at them. Just maintain a regular eye contact, just like I am talking to all of you right now, and I'm maintaining eye contact with the camera. Similarly, you have to maintain the eye contact with the camera if it's a virtual interview, or with the person if it's a normal interview, face-to-face interview. Again, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to answer your queries. Okay, Anjali is asking me, so what is the best time to start internships? There's nothing like best time. If you can get an internship in your first year, you can learn the skills. It's always better. Whenever you can get an internship, you should definitely do it, because whatever we learn in our college or in our school, that is more of theoretical learning, or whatever workshops or practical labs we have. But generally, to apply that knowledge to the real world projects, internships gives us that experience. So even if you can get an internship in your first year, second year, definitely you should go for it. There's no way you can, there should be no chance that you say no to that kind of opportunity. Okay, Rajeshwari is asking me how to answer if we have career gap. I mean, 2019 graduate, but still unemployed. Rajeshwari, always, whenever you have a career gap, always prepare an answer for it. Have a justification ready. See, having a career gap is not a bad thing. Not being able to justify that career gap is a bad thing. So what you can do is you can learn a few courses, you can do a few courses and justify that, okay, I took this gap. Explain your reason. I'm sure if you are taking a career gap, there will be some reason. Explain that reason, but at the same time show them that how you use this time to build some good hobbies, or maybe to learn some new skills. If you have done any courses, you have done any internships, anything, talk about those things. Any project you worked on, even if it was an independent project, talk about all those things. That's very, very important. Have a justification ready. I am final year student, how to approach for interview. So generally whatever I have discussed in this particular session, that was relevant for freshers as well. If you are a fresher, you do not have any experience, the other person who's going to take your interview, they will not expect you to know each and everything. They just want you to be confident and just to know the basics of the skill. See, each and every company will have a training program, will have an induction. They will teach you what you are supposed to do. but some basic things you're supposed to know, some things related to your personality, whether you will fit culturally in the organization or not. Some basic things you should know, and certain things they'll teach you. So don't go with the mindset that they expect you to know each and everything. No, you are a fresher, they don't want you to know each and everything. They just want you to be good at whatever you are saying that you are good at. If you're writing something in your resume, you should be good at that. If you're not good at something, you should not write it in your resume. That is one very very important advice I would like to give you if you are a fresher. Is it okay to tell a joke or something funny? Okay, Turkey, I think is your name. So it's not that out of nowhere you will crack a joke. If there is a conversation going on and there is a funny incident, definitely you can laugh about something. You can have a general conversation, a discussion about it. But definitely, it won't be a good idea if you just go to your interview and you tell a joke and start laughing about it. I mean, that will be insane. So you have to make sure whenever you're going for an interview, you maintain a professional decorum, because you are in an office setting right now, or even if it is a virtual interview, you are in a professional setting. So you maintain that decorum. Within that decorum, within your boundaries, whatever you do is acceptable. That is not an issue. Laughing is not an issue, smiling is not an issue, having a basic conversation is not an issue. The only issue is that whatever you are saying should make sense, should be relevant for the interviewer. Even if you're talking about your passion, your interest, make sure in some way you can connect it to the company. That is the only way which is required in interviews. How to get first job from core to IT, sir? If you are in the core branch, learn the skills. If let's say if you want to switch to IT, maybe you can learn some languages. Again, Great Learning Academy is a good opportunity for you. Why don't you go to Great Learning Academy, do some courses, get some certifications, add those certificates in your resume, LinkedIn profile, and it will help you. Definitely, that's the way to start. See, directly, let's say you are a civil engineer, you want to get into computer science field, you want to get into IT. You need to have those skills, right? You can't simply say and just be like, I know structural analysis and take me for Python. Nobody will do that, right? They will teach you certain things, but at the same time, certain skills you should have. You have to show them that you are passionate about it. So learn a few courses, do a few courses. You can go to Great Learning Academy, learn basic languages, programming languages, have a basic understanding of the field, and then from there you can start. These are all free courses. You can get a certificate for that, and that certificate you can attach in your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and that will only help you. So that's how you can start with it. I hope I answer your question. Smith Singh is asking me, is internship important as a fresher? Yes, it is kind of important, especially these days, because the competition is very high. If you don't have an internship, do not worry about it. If you've done some projects, or maybe you have done some, let's say you have done some kind of other activities in your college, that is also fine. But if you can do an internship, never lose that opportunity. It's always good to do internships. That just gives you exposure in terms of practicality of the world. You get to interact with the real time problems, and you get to solve those problems. So whatever you are learning in the class, that is one thing. Applying that to the real world problem is another thing. That is something that you learn in internships, trainings, and all those things. So for that, again, go to these if you haven't done any internships and you are in final year or third year, maybe you don't have a lot of opportunities, you feel, you can go to these courses, a Great Learning Academy, YouTube channel. Learn those skills, have a better profile. And once you learn those skills, you'll get those certificates, and those you can mention in your resume again. That is also one thing. Okay, I did my graduation in 4 years instead of 3 years. Will it be a bad thing? Not really. Like, definitely, there can be a few companies which will not take you because it will not be in their eligibility criteria. But I literally am telling you today that you have to be hopeful about it. Eventually, it comes down to a point where your skills matter and not your degree, right? But to get to that level, it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of efforts. So what you can do is start doing these courses, start learning. If you'll build up those skills, there will be a point of time where your 3 years, 4 years, that won't matter. What will matter is whether you have the skills or not. See, just think from a very simple perspective. Let's say I am an organization XYZ Private Limited. I want a person who knows Python. So I won't care whether you have done it in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. If you know Python properly, I will ask you question. You can solve those questions. Definitely, I will hire you. There will be a few exceptions, that will always be the case, but at the same time, let's not focus on that. Focus on the companies which will focus on your skills. So try to build skills. If you have gap year, if you have backlogs, that will be, irrelevant after a point of time. Surya is saying useful video. Thank you so much, Surya, for appreciating the video. Again, I would suggest all of you go subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon so that you can get all these updates about our videos. So every day almost we have these live sessions about interview preparations, technical rounds, resume building, interview etiquette, par dressing. We also have sessions about business English. We also have sessions about time management. All these things, whatever you want to do, you can find content related to all those particular fields. So subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon, and you will be getting updates about our videos. uh, I am unable to understand your question, Google V. I'm really sorry, can you please rephrase it? So I hope I have answered most of the questions. Please, just one last request. I see a lot of people asking me about how to start building those skills, how to have confidence in the area. I would just suggest you one simple thing. You are in your college or you are out of your college, it will not matter after a point of time which college you are from, what is it not like. One thing that is going to matter is what are the skills that you have, and to build those skills you need to do certification courses, you need to do these internships. So for that, to start with, see, whenever you want to do something, whenever you have a goal, you have to start somewhere. That is the most important point. And I am giving you the opportunity from Great Learning side to start. You can start with Great Learning Academy. Go to Great Learning Academy. There are different courses in different domains and free courses. Go to those free courses and you can start learning those skills, get your certificate, start building your resume, and eventually you will start learning that what are the different directions in that particular area, how you can learn a particular thing. So once you'll start somewhere, it will be easy for you to find a direction. But if you won't start, you'll always be lost. So make sure you start with Great Learning Academy, subscribe to our channel, start watching these videos, start learning the content that we are uploading on our YouTube channel. Once you'll do all of these things, these small steps you'll take, eventually you'll learn about yourself, you'll be more self-aware, you'll see what you are actually interested in, what excites you in your job role in terms of career opportunities, and then you can actually build a career out of it. So that is the very very simple way. So start with GLA, start with that is Great Learning Academy and our YouTube channel. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge. Pranav, thank you so much for being very, very interactive throughout this session. Thank you, everyone. So I hope I have answered maximum number of questions. Now we have reached the time limit for this particular session. So in the interest of time, I would wind up this session. But again, I thank all of you to attend this session and to ask me a lot of questions. This session was really interactive and was really fun for me to tell you guys about all these things. Thanks once again. A very good evening to all of you.